Hello and welcome to The Ripple Impact, the podcast where we dive into those fascinating small moments, big decisions and unexpected ripples that create waves of change in brands, businesses, leadership and in life. I'm Laura Barber, founder of The Ripple Impact and a global brand strategist who spent over 20 years inside global giants across beauty, retail, FMCG industries. And I now work with founders and brand leaders on strategy, positioning and storytelling, helping them turn human stories into brand growth. Each week on this podcast, I sit down with bold thinkers, founders, and what we call wave maker guests to explore the ripple moments that have shaped their journeys and the lessons you can take into your business and your life. Today, I am so buzzing to be joined by Emma Sayle, a serial entrepreneur, community builder, and unapologetic rule breaker who has built global platforms around female empowerment, pleasure, leadership, and freedom. From founding Kittens to building We Are X to redefining what modern leadership and female entrepreneurship can look like, Emma's journey is bold, brave, and deeply human. Emma, welcome to the Ripple Impact Show. I am so delighted to have you here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And we will get to this possibly towards the end, but we're about to take on an epic adventure in India with 50 other female founders. So delighted to have you on the show today. And we're about to go and do something mad and wonderful, but I really just wanted to get into your story before we talk about the incredible adventure that is Let's Go. On the Ripple Impact, we love to start at the beginning because often it's the seeds of who we are planted way before we even realize it. When you look back on your life from early childhood and growing up, what were some of those early influences or moments, like what we call the ripple impact moments, that have shaped you and how you see the world today? Are there some big moments that really stick in your mind?
Do you know what? I my whole childhood, to be honest, I grew up abroad pretty much. I was an army brat and then foreign office. And we moved every 2 years to like all over the world, Kuwait and Egypt and Berlin. And so I was always surrounded just by, say weird and wonderful, but nothing weird, but like every kind of nationality, religion. Dad was a diplomat, sort of more military intelligence he went into, and spoke 7 languages. And we just always had loads of different nationalities and different religions and different ages sort of in the house and going to functions. And so, yes, that's, one big, when I look back and how I am now and how my, all the businesses and everything I run now is I just see people. That's the thing. It's just people. And, again, at the same time, it's like from the poorest people on the streets of Cairo to billionaires and royals. And a lot of what I do, in fact, everything I do, all the communities I have, there's no sections. There's no, whether it's KK, whether it's a sisterhood, it's everyone. That's the thing. There's no, right, you've got to be white, you've got to be a Christian, you've got to be a conservative. It's sort of it. And that, I think that was a massive thing that shaped me just to see people. And, in the same way, it's why I don't like labels. I hate labels. I hate all this having a need to stick a label on something. I think, we're actually, it's less than it used to be. And I've, always said the future's human. And it kind of always, and when all the labels, it's calmed down a bit now, sexuality, so I'm like, no, it's just humans. Just be whoever you want to be. And, and accept. So that was a huge influence, just the way we lived and traveled. But at the same time, I was at boarding school in England, so very smart boarding school, 10 years, all girls, all white. And so it was kind of an opposite, but with that side, it was all girls. And that, the core of what I do and everything I do, again, all my businesses and communities is women. And it's the sisterhood and it's standing up for each other and having each other's backs and as women and building each other up, and not how a lot of women operate, which is competing with each other, knocking each other down, being jealous, being resentful, and that empowering women to be the best they can possibly be and not think they're second class citizens to men. So that part of my whole from 7 till 18, it was my girls. Because again, boarding school with parents abroad, they were my family. So that's kind of, I think that's why I'm almost like, it's like an animal, in me is I will protect my tribe of women at all costs, the same way, the same way a lot of people grow up with, with families, they protect the family. That it's in my blood and bones that the girls around me are my families. And that goes into all the businesses and stuff I do. So I think, as a whole, childhood wise. Yeah, huge effect. But at the same time, there was the real women know your place going on, with dad.
Mm.
He's like, old school male military, went to Eton, Cambridge, Sandhurst, guards, classic, and was very kind of, controlling and yeah, sort of women, very adventurous. He took me on so many adventures, and I think I get a lot of my adventurous side too, from him. We used to go on expeditions, as we
Yeah.
called them, all the time. That used to, that kind of, if he said, don't do that, I'd go, watch me. So I was very, yeah, you can't do that, or like be good, very much know your place as a girl. And that I think he helped into that anger in me, lit it a lot to
Mm.
go, no, sod you. Well, why should I? Why can boys do it and I can't do it? Why can they climb trees and do sports? It's sort of that, yeah, there was yeah, the fuck you in me, with a lot to do with because you also at the same time when you're in that environment, the foreign office military sort of, it is very bro club and patriarchal,
Mm.
and it, I think that, yeah, helped fuel the fire in me to do what I
Yeah,
do.
and you've always struck me as such a confident, independent, tenacious person. Like you talked a little bit about it there, but where does that come from? Where does that fire and the tenacity and the gumption and the dynamism come from? Is that always been in you, or was there a moment where you were like, right, I'm on this?
No, do you know what? It's always been in me, but do you know what? It wasn't until I went down the ADHD hole of, yeah, got diagnosed early 30s and I'm 47, so a while ago. So I'm not in the recent ones. I've known for, but with all it's only been the last sort of 5, 6 years. It's so much information has come out, and
Yeah.
the behavior, what it makes you do, and that kind of stuff. And the huge part of that is that sense of justice, and that if
Mm.
you see someone being wronged or something you don't agree with, every part, it fires some, our brain fires out to fix it and to make it right. And we can't keep quiet. We will fight for it. When I was reading, and looking at that side of that high functioning ADHD is, yeah, I went, so much makes sense. And people are,
Yeah.
often say, you took a big risk launching the business when you launched it 20 years ago. And did you not, wasn't there any part of you that thought, what am I doing? And I shouldn't be doing it. And when you realize how the brain works, when you are, when you fire like mine does, you realize that it doesn't even cross your mind that it's like, if
Mm.
you're on a mission to fix something, then nothing will stop you. And you're like, tunnel vision
Yeah.
to, and you don't hear the white noise of, people going, oh, you shouldn't do it and you should be careful. And so you take the risks. And a lot of entrepreneurs are like that because we don't see the risk and we don't let the risk stop us if we do see a little glimmer of it. So, yeah, so it has always been there. But when you, yeah, realize how certain brains work, you go, okay, that will make sense.
It's so interesting because you've literally answered my next question, which was going to be about bold moves and not following the traditional path. But like you were saying, it didn't feel risky. You were just going, I have to do this, whether it's bold or traditional or not, doesn't matter. Is there's a fire inside me and there's injustice and I'm going after it. So did you not even feel the risk when you started killing kittens then? Because as you said, it's been 20 years now and in a completely different, well, hopefully we're getting more and
Mm.
more liberal as time goes on, but you wind back 20 years ago, it felt bold then. Did it feel it to you, or what was the
It was,
spark?
do you know, and also it's a weird twisted way, and I still, do it if someone slags me off or I hear someone, I'm my brain very quickly goes into, and like feel sorry for them and go, oh, they're not a happy person. There's something going on in their life that makes them project their, I could, hear it and the insults and stuff, but actually the more insults I got, the more I thought I'm onto something here and this is needed. Because actually a lot of guys backed me up and CD and that sort of thing. And I thought, yeah, you're the ones that are going to feel threatened by this. So, I'm on target. I'm flying over the target now to get this much reaction. So, yeah, in a sort of twisted way, it kind of becomes a compliment and like encouragement. So
Yeah,
the criticism is very,
yeah,
yeah, it's sort of encouragement just to, and also just to prove a whole lot of people wrong. I still say now, yep, still got a whole load to prove wrong. Still doing it. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's still a long way to go. I mean, you call it twisted. I call it brilliant. Like, what an incredible way to, I mean, gosh, I need to take a leaf out of your book when people say, what the hell are you doing? And what the hell is that? You'd be like, oh, okay. And actually, like, flipping it the other way is so positive and so empowering, and not to use that as something to diminish you, but actually use it as fuel to go, I'm onto something here. I'm going to push even harder.
Yeah, and I always say to people, just be careful of the advice you get from the closest to you, because when
Mm,
you're threatening to change, that's, whether it's launching business, whether it's leaving a relationship, going travel or something, when you're threatening to change, you're threatening them, their dynamic. You
yeah.
are, they are the ones who have got used to the comfort zone and the position you're in within that family or within that friendship group, within the couples, relationships. You try changing, wanting to change that and suggesting I'm launching a business or I'm doing this will threaten their dynamic and their
Yeah.
comfort zone. So they'll be the first to go, oh no, you shouldn't be doing that. Have you really thought this through? I always say to people, just beware of the closest people's advice you get, because often it's not coming from sense, it's coming from their insecurities. So yeah.
Yeah. And fear of change as well, because I think sometimes fear of change can be in yourself, but also fear of change of someone else changing as well. So as you said, it's their projection onto you of, oh, should you really be doing that? Not because the idea's not great, but it's because they maybe don't feel comfortable with it. That's
Yeah,
so
they feel
interesting.
threatened, or they feel, and there's resentment
Yeah.
and jealousy a lot of the time, because a lot of the time they're not happy. They're not in a happy relationship. They're not in a happy job. So there's that kind of jealousy of, hang on, you're changing you and I'm not. So they're projecting their unhappiness. Unhappy people project their unhappiness onto happy people. Criticism you'll get. And, I often say, I can tell sometimes I walk into a room and someone will look me up and down and I'll go, she does not like me. And you just think it's, yeah. You just see the look and the
Yeah.
bet immediately you just, feel sorry for them and think, not a happy person or needs a good shag.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, they need to go to a Killing Kittens party. Talking of Killing Kittens, like, you've built incredible platforms, and Killing Kittens is 20 years in, and now there's We Are X, which feels like an incredible evolution of what you've started. And it's interesting because I think when people talk Killing Kittens, people ultimately kind of go to this kind of pleasure space, but actually, kind of, I see it much more around belonging and permission and
Yeah,
conversation.
so
And I feel
people
like,
see the tip of the eye. I always say
yeah,
they see the Daily Mail headlines and the party. Oh, that it's like, I always say it's like the tip of the iceberg, and there's a massive
r-
iceberg, and it's kind of the iceberg sort of risen. So actually, it's hang on a minute. There's the whack where it's waxed out, and the community and it's the whole. Now, as I always say, it's the whole of your sort of adult life when it comes to sex and relationships and community, and yeah.
did you start with this idea of creating a sense of belonging and community and space and autonomy, or did that just naturally happen because you got people together who were confident and liberated and free to be themselves? Did that naturally happen because of the type of people that were getting together, or were you
No,
almost like, I want to create a
it's
sense of permission and belonging for people?
do you know what? From day one, I wanted to create a safe space, like offline and online, for
Mm,
women to explore their sexuality and be able to have the conversations, and that's what it was in my head from day one. And it was, and even the parties, it was, to me, it was like our biggest sex organ is our brain. So it's the touch, the feel, the smell, the ambience, the setup. That's what I concentrated on. And even now, amazing, we've got an amazing team. It's that gets focused on, and I've always
yeah.
said the sex is a byproduct, because if you turn,
Mm,
us on, then, that just comes naturally. That's what it's always been about. And even, when I first had the logo designed, for Killing Kittens, it was 2Ks. It's been 2Ks from day one, because I said to the designer, I want 2Ks because one day I want to, be wearing lingerie with the 2Ks in, and it to be like the M in McDonald's. Since day one, I wanted the 2Ks to stand for something. So yeah, and
yeah.
then kind of just, yeah, sort of expand that to stand for something, to stand for that sort of female sort of sexual empowerment, which has kind of grown into empowering everyone, but with the
Mm,
femme energy very much at the core of it all. We call it our North Star. So everything we do and launch has that. This is what it stands for, and this is what it's about, and the soul behind it and a mission behind it. So, we launched cruises and retreats, and recently a KK club and a members club with like creative dinners and music and sports events and stuff like that. So it's everything we do is aligned to that North Star of what it stands for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible. And what a wonderful thing to create such liberation and safety for women and to have conversation about kind of their sexual needs and desires and create a space that's really healthy and really brilliant for people to do that. How did you personally deal with the backlash of that, right? Because there's going to be the haters in any walks of life, right? But you're stepping into a space of female empowerment and liberation at the edges of society, arguably, right? How did you deal with the backlash of that? Because it's not been an easy ride. I mean, I don't think it's easy for any female founder, let's be honest. And we'll probably get to that. But how did you personally deal with that? Because there must have been so much that came at you.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there still is, I get it. You can see it at the school gates and stuff. You have that invisible force feel of going, they don't know me. That's the thing. It's like people that don't know me, I can't control what they think and feel. And therefore
Mm,
I've got a great group of, friends and family, and that's all I care about on that front. It's sort of the rest is white noise. So you just go, I think that's
yeah.
it. When you stop giving a shit what people think, is that it's so liberating. It kind of, it happened to me very early on, but it very much happens to midlife women. It's sort of that, the stop
Yeah.
giving a fuck moment when the hormones,
Yeah.
and the layer just comes off and you just stop. And it's really liberating because giving a shit about what people think about you controls so much of people's lives. And it stops
Yeah.
people doing so much because at the back of your mind, your whole time is like, oh, I can't do it because people will think this or they'll
Mm,
say that. When all that stops, it's like, whatever, it just goes in one ear and out the other. And again, it's that feeling sorry for them. Because I think when you feel, I always say that
mm,
when when on the harassment side of stuff and the trolls and things is to not
yeah.
respond. Because you're giving them power. It's sort of just feel sorry for them. Because if you feel sorry, if
Mm,
you give someone like your sympathy and feel sorry for them, they're not going to get hard on over that. They get hard on over power and feeling in control. And,
yeah.
it's sort of the worst thing is feeling like, oh, they're pitying me. It's sort of my brain very quickly goes into, oh, poor thing, feeling like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Oh, I just love that. I feel like every time I do a podcast, there's always like these post-it notes that I want to stick around my house of like sayings to say to myself because you're totally right. Like I've always deeply cared what people think, and it's really limiting. Actually, you can really hold yourself back by really giving a shit about what anybody thinks, and it's so liberating when you let go of that and just really lean into who you are. And it's an incredible thing when you can do it, but sometimes it takes a lot of unlearning to
Yeah.
get there and to step into that confidently, and that takes time sometimes. It's a daily practice for me. You talked about your amazing team earlier. Talk to us about leadership because you'll have seen leadership from all kinds of different angles and, people being very much at the heart of your philosophy and your mission and your purpose. But also then there's your incredible team. So how do you approach leadership? What have you learned? What are your biggest lessons in leadership
Mm.
that have led you to in creating such incredible platforms and businesses? Because it
I
doesn't happen
think,
overnight.
yeah, no, it doesn't. I mean, one of the big things is letting go. I think, and that, I can see so many, women I know, founders and stuff, and you can see it and you just want to go, just let go. Stop being so controlling. Stop, the only way it's going to grow is by, and getting, and sometimes I see it and I think they've just literally employed, yes, nodding dogs who are young versions of themselves who will agree with everything. And that's the thing. You can see stuff now, the older I've got. And also, I kind of had to let go. I got a business partner in 2017. But, I had a 2.5-year-old, a 6-month-old baby, and you can't do it all. I've
Yeah.
never had a day of maternity leave. You cannot do it all. It was the timing of that in 2017, the Me Too movement. And I just knew I needed to go big on the tech side of things before some. And again, it was that anger in me of like, I didn't want some Silicon Valley upstart with billions in the bank to
Mm,
create some tech platform and claim to own the female sexual liberate free space, which is what has happened in a lot of women's health and femtech and sex tech is a lot
mhm.
of men running them and launching them.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to happen. So yeah, I just realized, I needed someone who is the yin to my yang. I'm not good with detail. I'm a shit manager. I mean, we're doing this race. We've had to get me and Fran at the same person, someone on board to do all the admin. Cause I'm like, no, I just, it's on a very
Yeah.
long to-do list. It just doesn't happen. And
No, of course.
so it, yeah, so getting him on board, and then I was pregnant again. So I had like 3 and 4 years, and COVID hit. And then I benched myself because it was all the tech, it was all online, and I'm crap at that. I don't have any interest in it either. I kind of do from a business perspective, but I just hate online stuff.
Yeah.
I'm an offline person who wants to be outside, who wants to be meeting people in real life and having that energy. It's who I am. And the online side, to me, it's a tool, it's needed. And I think that it's realizing what you don't like, you don't want to be doing, and letting someone
Yeah.
else do it. Yeah, and I've said that to so many friends. I'm like, why? But you don't enjoy that, so get someone else to do it. Leading to me is letting other people. It's being like the conductor, but
Mm.
having you've got all the different instruments and different people and who are doing crazy. That I can't do any of those things, but just sort of letting them play, but sort of
Yeah.
being, that we're all in the right direction. We're all on the same song sheet. We're playing the same music. It's kind of that. A few people have, worked for us for a few people that joined just said, you won't hear from Emma at all. If she starts asking you questions, she wants to, she's not, then
She's
it's a bad thing.
concerned.
That's the thing. It's like that.
Yeah.
There's that wolf mentality. The wolf, you've got the wolf out the front and he'll come
Mm.
back and circle the pack, check
Yeah.
it's all right, and go back a mile out the front. I'm not a manager and I don't like detail. And I just, I get claustrophobic and
Mm.
people annoy me. If it's like too much, yeah. And, or like little questions. I just don't like going into that brain of like, just, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of it. And Hads, who's my business partner, is, he's very hands-on and he's detailed on his strategy, and actually we work really well together because I'd go, right, fuck it, let's do it. Just like that. But obviously we got bigger and that was all right in the early days. But when
Yeah.
you're dealing with a cruise that costs 1.5 million and fuck it, let's do it, involves signing that contract, it needs a lot more cash flow forecasts and and that kind of things. Yeah, so we work really well together because he's very good at all of that. And then it's a case of,
Yeah.
are we doing this or not? And I'll be like, go, let's do it. So,
Amazing,
yeah.
amazing lessons in learning to let go of the things that doesn't serve you or you're not very good at or you don't enjoy. As you said, being the orchestra at the front of that pack, having the vision, having the music, knowing where it's going and knowing how to conduct everyone around you, but knowing you can't play every bloody instrument. There's no physical way. So get the experts in to do the bits that you're not good at and lead from the front. So I think that's such a wonderful analogy. Yeah, wow. I'd love to talk about female founders, right? Because I am now a female founder. It feels really exciting to say that, but it's bloody hard, right? Really, really hard. And you're one of those female founders. Your voice is incredible on LinkedIn. You're such a supporter, such an advocate, such a fighter for injustice and representation. And female founder and entrepreneurial life is messy and emotional. And tell us about your female founder journey and what it's been like and what you faced and what you see coming, and give us a little flavor because I'm starting to feel it now. And you've been at it for 20 years, so you can teach me some lessons.
Yeah, do you know what? 'Cause that was the other thing. People said, how could you do it? I didn't know it's the sex industry. It was very male. And,
Mm.
being a woman, and I always thought I didn't get the memo. You found something, you crack on with it. And there's such a big thing on the female founders. And there's some of it that I'm like supporting everyone and but then there's some where sometimes I get messages like from one fellow female one to another, and they can get quite angry. And I'm like, just because you're a
Mm.
female, there's that part of that expectation of, well, you got to help me regardless because we're both women. It's sort of,
Oh, right. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
but there is, and or making excuses for I'm not getting investment because female founders don't get 'em. Yeah, the statistics are awful, absolutely awful. But sending your deck to one person and being rejected, it's not because you're a
Yeah.
female founder. You have got to have absolutely no shame and hustle the crap out of it and get out there and go and put yourself in the boys' clubs and the networks and the way the boys' club do. It is harder because we're the ones juggling the rest of life. We're the ones, the
Yeah.
main, the caregivers, they're taking on, probably 90% of the housework and the childcare and that part. we're trying to have the best of all worlds as a female founder,
Yeah.
and it's exhausting. But that's even more reason to have those villagers around you. So you cannot do
Mm.
anything. My 3 kids are 11, 9, and 7, but I've got an amazing village of school parents. So I have no problem,
Yeah.
I have no shame whatsoever in asking, can they pick them up? Can they, can they have a sleepover? Can they do that if it
Mm.
clashes with work or something? And family, like mum's up the road and like, that kind of thing. So on the childcare side, and then, like, as I said, great work team who do all the work really, quite frankly. So, and then a tribe of, sister lot and girlfriends and having that support network. And I think that's crucial for female fan. It is because I had a couple of girlfriends find me yesterday who are founders and they were like, we just want to pick your brains and because
Mm.
our mates don't get it. And that's the thing is
Yeah.
that you cannot expect your best mates to understand it. And even,
Yeah.
so I don't even bother. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. I do not really speak to family about any, business and crap going on in my brain, or if I'm stressed about something work wise, or, and, girlfriends who mums locally or who are employed, who aren't founders. I won't,
Mm.
because, and it's not their fault they don't get it. They don't get it, so there's just
Yeah,
no
they're in a
point
different
even,
world.
yeah, so that's, to me, that's important is actually using each other as sounding boards, because only we can get it. Is that, yeah, other
Yeah.
female founders can understand that, all that pressure, and then you fall into the camps of, female founders who are mums, and
Mm.
then ones who aren't. Again, it's a
Yeah.
different dimension. So it's having the fact, if you're a mum, I have found friends who are mums too, and they get that part. They get the guilt and all of that side of it as well.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah. So I think the pressures on female founders is way more than men, just because the
Mm.
pressures of life are way more on us as a whole, especially the midlife women on that front. But then on that, the average age of women finding business and founding businesses is late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
But then you also look at that and you just think that's a time when the hormones kick in and you lose that layer of estrogen and stuff. You lose the give a fuck hormone. So yeah, it kind of, it's the time. And divorce, average age of divorce is like 46, 47. There's a reason why it's
Mm.
all interlinked, is because it's when women go, no, actually, phase two
Yeah.
of our lives, and what do we want? We don't want to be in a crap job. We don't want to be in a crap relationship, and let's go. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Like I felt that so deeply is creating a network and a group of people around you that really get it and can support you and can listen and can also give advice, because it's a completely different world. Like I've been in corporate for 20 odd years and
Mm.
I'm now in a completely different world and it feels so different. And you need to surround yourself with brilliant people that get it and can be a sounding board. You need to look for support elsewhere and build that camaraderie around you is so critical. And it takes work. It's that weird thing of like, it's like trying to make friends as an adult. Like it's a weird thing starting again. It's liberating, but it's also really vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's lonely. It is lonely.
Yeah, it is lonely. Yeah, yeah, it is super lonely. And the vulnerability thing is the thing that hit me the most. Like, I did not expect to feel vulnerable. I was like, right, it's me, I'm going. But then I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
just me now, putting myself out in the world, Laura's opinion, my business, my points of view. I was like, yes. And then I was like, wow, this is actually quite scary in an exciting way, but it's vulnerable.
It is, and you've got also what comes with being fan. It is, we have it in our bones. The messaging we're taught as girls is to keep
Mhm.
quiet and not be opinionated, not be bossy, not to be
Yeah.
assertive, and not to show off, and like that. So actually, what comes with when you found a business, you've got to be out there basically saying, "Look at me, how amazing am I, and how amazing is my business?" And it's not in our bones to be able to
No.
do that. So we have that added having to learn that actually, even now, sometimes I'll put something out on that and I will say something. I think, shit, do people think I'm going, hey, look at me, how amazing am I? You know what I mean? It's in us. It's that little, and I just say around a table in my head, there's the little voices. There's all the little people like fear and whatever. And
Um,
when that comes up, the other one just slaps it down and tells it to sit down. And that's what you've, yeah, got to do. You've got to,
yeah.
the voices will always be there. You just have to find a way of stopping them, or as I say, slapping them, telling them to sit down and have a cup of
Slap
tea.
down the
And
inner critic. That's
yeah.
brilliant. There's a tagline for podcasts that they're right there, slapping down the inner critic. That is so good. So for the females that are listening to this podcast, and you know what's really interesting with podcasts, right? If it's a female host like myself, the majority of the listeners are females. So females listen to all gender podcasts, and apparently men only listen to men podcasts. So anyone
Shocked.
that's listening, please share it on with the men in your life that need to listen to these podcasts because they're so powerful. What advice would you give to female founders that are listening to this going, oh, she's got tenacity. Oh, she just goes and does it. I want to do it. I want to start something. What advice would you give to those people just starting out?
I'd say you got to back yourself. You know what I mean? In the same way, men, they just back themselves. There's no doubt. They
Yeah.
just walk in and they do it. And if every bone in your body is telling you that it's the right thing to do, that's the thing. You've got to go with your gut. People, we override our gut the
Yeah.
whole time. And if your gut is saying you should be doing it, I've always said, what's the worst case scenario? If you can deal with the worst case scenario, then you go for it. When I started out and thinking, what's the worst case scenario? Oh, I won't be able to pay my rent and I've got friends with sofas and, that was it. What's the worst thing that can happen combined with you just have one life? And do you want to be sat there like in your 70s or 60s or 80s or thinking, oh, I should have done that. I wish I'd launched that. Which so many people do. They go, oh, I had this business idea. And you're like, well, you didn't do anything about it. So yeah. Or someone
Yeah.
launched it. How many times have you heard that when you're out and that you're talking about the product? Oh, I had that idea years ago. Yeah, but you didn't do it, did you?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like,
Yeah.
damn.
And that's, when you talk about failure, it's sort of, well, at least they've tried. If someone
Yeah.
fails at something, at least they tried, which is more than most people. So it's sort of
Yeah.
failure actually is
And
success, really, in a funny way. It's
yeah.
that twisted thing again, isn't it?
Totally. Because you learn. No, totally. Because you
Mm,
learn so much, don't you, when you fall down and you fail and you think, wow.
mm.
And it's not necessarily you wouldn't do it again. It's just like, okay, now what am I going to take with me and what I'm going to take forward? So that's such lovely advice. One thing I absolutely love about you is that the impact doesn't stop at business. And there are so many examples of you, and I've seen them on LinkedIn, I've seen them in WhatsApp chat groups,
Mm.
of you putting yourself into wonderfully brilliant charity forward situations from scaling down cliffs to now tuk-tuks. So I want to talk about Let's Go, which is an incredible adventure that we are about to take on with 50 other female founders. So we're going to India for 1,200 kilometers from Chennai to Goa, which feels completely on brand for both of us to be putting our money where our mouth is and our time to really give back and do something incredible. Can you tell our listeners and our YouTube watchers about this epic adventure that we're about to take on? And what was it that really started this for you? Because this is a couple of years in, right? So
Yeah.
why did this start? Why
So
is it
this, so
important?
the ritual thing is a couple of years in, but it's part. So the sisterhood is 19 years. That might be 20 years this year, and that again was founded just to get. There was a group of guys, who called themselves the Brotherhood, and they said, "Oh, we're going across the channel in a dragon boat." And I, in a pub one night, went, "Okay, I'm going to launch the sisterhood, and we'll race you across." And it kind of it grew from there. And again, I like the community side of it and the confidence women got from again going out of their comfort zones and doing a challenge and realizing that they could do it. So
Yeah.
everything from we relayed from the channel to the Amazon Raft race to a relay running from LA to Vegas to loads of different event races every year for different women and children's charities and since after COVID it's sort of joined forces with Fran and more turned assisted more into female founders and women in business. Because again, of that mindset of if they can do a crazy challenge and put themselves out of their comfort zones and that confident, it spins into the boardroom and running your businesses
Yeah.
and the effect. It's kind of a twisted social experiment. So
And we're all the guinea pigs.
that's the bit. It makes people really realize who they are. Because when you take people out of their comfort zones, they can come out, you'll see it when we do it. Personalities can come out that actually shock themselves. It's really good psychologically like that. And and I did the Indian one with a mixed group 3 years ago, and the finish line was in this primary school, and I learned, and it was in that and talking to kids and seeing them, and we're playing cricket with them and stuff, and realizing that over there street children are not entitled to a free education. Unlike here, like everyone's entitled. The poorest of the poor is a state education, and the street kid education is privately funded, and that's what this charity was doing. That school we ended on was built by this, the Round Table, which is a charity out there raising the funds and building it. And I was chatting to some of the girl, this little girl, she was like 9 or 10, and, talk about what she wanted to be. I'd say she wanted to be a scientist, and, and it just sort of, it was sort of similar ages to, yeah, to my, and it just, something just hit that I wanted to come back. And this, was going to be a big part of, what I did, and sisterhood, and bring other women back. And and just basically, so I asked the organizer, is it possible just to do women? And
Yeah.
that's when he said, that's when they created the route from Chennai to go across the middle of India, because it's safest. Where the one I did before was down south. And so that's kind of how it came about. And doing it, I wanted to do it over International Women's Day, because I hate International Women's Day. It's all being asked to
Yeah.
speak or
The
sit on
hashtag.
panels, and no one wants to pay. And, you're
Yeah.
talking, the same bollocks is spoken about. I call it all fart, no poo. It's just sort of, I've watched it for 20 years. It's the same stuff that
Yeah.
gets said, and it's just virtual signaling bollocks. The way it's
Mhm.
done over here with, all these events that just mean nothing. And I said, Fran, I want to do something where you can see the change and you can see the impact. And also at the same time, make everyone realize how lucky we are. We're so
Yeah.
privileged, and we can stop whining about being women and female founders. It's like we are unbelievably privileged in what we can do as women in the Western world. And to drum that inside everyone, just to kind of, that gave a lot of people a slapping last year, who were in a kind
Yeah.
of, it's very, some people just to sit in that victim mode and feel
Mhm.
sorry for themselves. So so we did it last year, and then decided to do it again. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just so excited. I'm so honored to be part of the sisterhood. I'm so honored to be part of this adventure. It's 1,200 kilometers from Chennai to Goa for such an incredible charity helping schools and women in the local areas. So it's an incredible thing that you guys have already done. And I'm so excited and honored to be part of the next wave of doing it. So yeah, it's just wonderful. And there's kind of a little reason why I wanted to call my business the Ripple Impact, because you said, for me, it's all about impact. Like, you can, waves can come by, but if you don't actually take action, you jump on the wave, it just goes, it disappears. And this idea of impact is so critical. And as you said, International Women's Day is just a moment for people to post things on social media, and then, the
Mm.
hashtag changes every year and stuff. But this is actually doing something in the context of International Women's Day. So I can't wait for it. It's going to be so incredible. I'm kind of a little bit scared, but so excited. So it's going to be an amazing adventure, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'll
And
love
we're all
it.
going to learn a lot about each other.
Oh yeah, big
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
So
there
I
will be
just can't wait.
arguments. There will be, it's funny, but everyone ends up
Yeah.
loving each other at the end of it. It's just part of the process.
Yeah, incredible. So what's next for you? We've got next week, we've got Let's Go Earth, an epic adventure with women. But what's in your future for Emma, for Killing Kittens, for We Are X? Where's the future going? Because whenever I look at what you're up to, you're always doing something incredible. So is there any
Um,
plans? Is stuff coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, we're kind of going hell for leather this year. Everything's being aligned. Wax, it's going to be Wax by Killing Kittens. It's being rebranded and aligned into Killing Kittens. Everything has, the whole KK group is very aligned. We've got another cruise in 27. We've got 3 in 28. We just released one in November 2028. So it's that kind of bigger scale, more just big, the community and light, and kind of that lifestyle of just that hedonistic kind of life, and like-minded people. We've got a massive
Yeah,
community, so growing that part, and what do people want. And we're going to start looking later this year for a hotel as well, because we want a KK hotel. So
amazing.
it's kind of that's what we're doing now. It's, I say we've got an amazing foundation. We've built the whole, the runway is built, the jet is, planes have been built and they've taken off, and now it's sort of right. Yeah, it's all built.
Incredible. Oh, just amazing. It's such a honor to talk to you today. We talked about female founders, but this is kind of a bigger, broader question. So, my very last question for you, which is always the same question we ask all of our wonderful guests. So, we call our guests wave makers because they're making waves on the industry and the world. And I don't think that's any more true than it could be for you. So, thank you for that. What advice would you give to aspiring wave makers?
To ignore the white noise around you and just ride the wave. That's the thing. It's sort of, I surfed a lot in my 20s and stuff, and you've got to commit. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to commit or you miss the wave. So, yeah, that's what I'd say. You commit. Yeah.
I love that. I love the bold and the simplicity of that, because as we talked about, things can pass you by so easily. Unless you actually commit to catching that wave, it's going to just hit the shore without you. So it's such wonderful advice. Emma Sayle, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. Your honesty, as always, your energy, your dynamism, your courage to be bold and to build such incredible platforms of from pleasure to belonging and conversations in between, which is truly inspiring. So thank you so much. You were absolutely living proof that people need to follow their instincts, take those bold choices, trust their gut, go for it. As you said, roll up your sleeves and get involved and just go for it and don't overthink it. And the ripples of your actions can reach far further than you ever imagined. So thank you. And I'm so excited for next week. Let's Go is going to be incredible. We are going to drop all the links to the charity and how you can get involved in the comments. So please do sponsor, get involved, donate, and cheer us along as we travel across India for charity. So I can't wait for that. And if you're looking to elevate the human storytelling of your brands, please get in touch with us at the Ripple Impact so we can see how we can help your business grow. That is a wrap on this incredible Ripple episode. Tune in weekly for more bold voices and incredible wavemaker guests just like Emma. I'm Laura Barber. This is the Ripple Impact. We will see you in next week from Goa. We're taking ripples on the road. Emma, thank you so much. I will see you in Chennai.
Yeah, see you later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.